Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. it's a sad day in history today, man. The Yankees lost. I'm not gonna, I'm an Astros fan. So, it's like I know that there's some people out there that's hurt that the Yankees lost. So I'm not gonna be that happy about it. It's just a regular day. I did go ahead. I had a request to do a specific game. So you see this game right here. It is Peter Svidler versus Hikaru Nakamura taken out of the chess speed championships of 2021. So last year. So I went back in the history of the game. No, I'm playing. I just went back 1 year. So it's still pretty recent. But it's a very interesting game. You know how things kind of develop. I had a good friend of mine making a comment on one of my videos about the Astros and the Yankees. And I said that after E4, H5 was going to be played. So he pulled up a game, homie, of an E4, H5 being played. So I said, man, why not? I'll do the game. So here it is right here. So let's see what's cracking. Now, of course, from all of my people in the Philippines, I will say, mabuhay, magandang umaga to you. Kamusta na aking makaibigan. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Anybody who is coming from Russia, I would say privyet, kakadela, spasibo, for coming by and taking a look at my stuff. If you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look and see what we got for this crazy game. So we got the move E4, best by test. Absolutely, you want to go E4, D4, get the best center you can get. And then H5. One of the worst opening moves in the history of the game. Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, when you play this crazy stuff, A5s and A6s and H6s, H5s and stuff like that, at some point, unless you just want to lose, you have to get back. It really kind of wastes a move. You have to start getting back into regular moves, because if you don't, then you're just going to get completely demolished. You can't keep pushing wing pawns all day because the action is right here in the center of the board. So we do see the move D4. Svidler is like, hey, bro, you know what I'm saying? You give me the whole center, I'm going to take it. And this is what is known as the Goldsmith defense of the King's Pawn opening. Don't ask me why it was named that. Maybe there was somebody, named Goldsmith that they named this after. But we do see the move G6. We got the move Knight to C3. We have a Bishop to G7. And I mean, even though this is really crazy with the H5 situations going on, this kind of is in line with what Hikaru was playing, at this point, because he was playing a lot of moderns, which, as you guys know, is usually this pawn being back here, and you have the fianchetto of the King's Bishop, right? So, I mean, it's pretty much like a modern or a Pierce or something like that, just kind of with the A5 movement. So, like I said, you do have to you do have to get back regular at some point. You can't just keep playing wing stuff because then you're just going to get demolished. And even this is really, really, really great for white. You see the bar is way up there. So if white plays exactly how they need to play, they're just going to wipe black completely off the board. But this is Hikaru that we're talking about. So, I mean, he's pretty crafty individual. So we do see the move F4 by Peter Svidler. And then we do see the novelty of the game, which is the move A6. It's kind of like a Najdorf idea. You don't really want any bishops or knights to kind of come here, when you're trying to develop your stuff. Possibly that's the reason why you play A6, but I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. But if we actually backed up, after we saw the move Bishop to G7, in keeping with the absolute, crushing, advantage that white has, you guys probably guessed it. Knight to F3 is a definitely great developing move. And so is Bishop to C4. You're just literally saying, I'm getting my pieces out. I got the pieces on the best squares. This is definitely one of the best diagonals for this bishop. And of course, Knight to F3, you can almost never go wrong with that. Unless you have to go Knight G to E2 for some reason. There's some situation you have to do that. But we do have this position here. And then we do have the knight tucked behind, this pawn up here. So, I mean, white has a really, really great center. Either this way or you can always have it this way. Just kind of how you want to do it. But, I mean, white is definitely in the driver's seat of this position. We do have the move C6. We got Bishop to D3. And so we kind of have like a Carol Khan hybrid-y type of thing going on. And then we do have the move Castles by white. We got Bishop to G4. And then we do have the move E5. And I mean, white has a really, really beautiful center. F5 could come at some point once we can kick this bishop or maybe make it trade or something like that. And then we do have the move e6. Now, like I said, you know, f5, if we can put h3 in, you know, the position, make for a trade here, and e6 isn't played, we definitely have some play with the move f5. Either capturing here or, you know, we're just opening up the f file, or if we capture here, and then we have like check. You know, the king is a little uncomfortable. So seeing that, Hikaru says, I'm going to go ahead and go e6. And then we do see the move knight down to e2. We got the move h4, which will become absolutely relevant here coming up pretty soon. I'm not sure if Hikaru was playing that move specifically for this reason, but it did come, you know, it did do some real good later on. So we do see the move h3. We got bishop taking f3, rook taking f3, and then we do see the move knight to e7. And like I was telling you guys a second ago, the move h4, even though it might not have been played for that specific reason, you know, Hikaru probably was seeing that he does want to put his knight here, and he doesn't really want to deal with any g4s because then he would just have to like move his knight from the square he just put it on. So he probably was calculating that stuff back at that point. So we do see the move c4. Now, backing up to this particular position, you know, the computer is like, bro, play b3. But I think as a human, you're kind of thinking, why am I playing b3? Because, I mean, you know, I don't want to put this bishop here because it's going to be biting on rocks. So it's like, what good does b3 do me? This is a complete, pure computer move. I don't really feel like there's really very many humans that was going to make this move. Unless you maybe want to go bishop to a3. But, I mean, yeah. So that is definitely some computer stuff. So sitting in this position here after knight to e7, you know, Peter Svidler is most likely sitting here looking at the position saying, man, I got a great amount of space. I mean, I'm ahead in development. My king is safe. It's like, man, I got to do something. And I really feel like at the end of the day, it's the same thing I would play in this position. I'd be like, man, I got to do something, like, because you know you have an advantage. You know you have more space. You know you have all this stuff. And that is kind of one of the problems with the position for Peter Svidler. Because c4, the computer absolutely hates it. And we have pawn taking c4, bishop taking c4, and then we do see the move knight to d7. So even though the position looks really passive for black at the moment, you will start to see black kind of starting to spring to life. And I mean, you know, neither side has really like a great advantage over the other. We do see the move knight to c3. We got knight to b6, of course, attacking that bishop. Bishop falls back to b3. We see the knight down to f5. And I mean, you're in a slight pickle in this particular situation because, I mean, this knight and this queen are both hitting this square. So, you know, you kind of have a problem pawn here after pushing c4 and allowing this d pawn, you know, to take. You have kind of activated the queen just a little bit. So that was most likely one of the drawbacks of the move. We do see bishop going to e3, knight taking e3, rook taking e3. That bishop wasn't even really a great piece for us anyway, so we're like, whatever. We got the queen going down to c7. We see rook over to d3. We got long castles by black. And, I mean, if you're Peter Svidler and you're in this position and you have this monstrous amount of space, you have to be thinking, like, there has to be something here. Like, there's got to be something more than just this because, I mean, you know, it's saying that you're about half a pawn up, but it's like, man, I mean, you have so much space. All your pieces are developed. Everything should be good. I mean, the major problem is something I'll touch on in a minute, is that it's really, really impossible to push this d pawn because you have such a clamp in the position because of these two pawns. So that is like the most irritating thing about the position. Of course, if you put this pawn right here, man, white is winning the game all 1000% all day, every day. And this is just completely just, you know, demolishing by white, but we're not in that position. So we do see the move queen to f3. We got king sliding over to b8, you know, just like, hey, I'm gonna get extra safe. We do see the rook 8 to d1. We got rook down to d7. We got knight down to e4. And, I mean, we were really, really looking at trying to do something with this knight. So knight to c5 is looking pretty juicy. So we do see bishop to f8 because Hikaru saying, bro, I'm not letting you get your knight in there without some consequences, dude. You know? So we do see the move knight to g5, bishop back to h6, knight back to e4, and then the bishop back. So we repeat a little bit. Probably both players are trying to gain some time. And then we do see a knight back to g5, and then we vary with the move a5. We really kind of want our bishop to stay there. That's probably the best area for it to be. So we go ahead and go a3 and prepare to drop our bishop back to a2 if necessary. We do see the bishop coming back to h6. And knight goes back to e4, bishop to f8. And this Svidler says, whatever, man, I'll go knight to c5 now. And then we do see the rook moving back to d8. And we have actually reached the point in the game that if you do want to pause the video and try to guess and see what move Peter Svidler plays in this position. It is an interesting move. There are definitely moves that are better than this, probably 4 or 5 different moves, but this was a really interesting point that we got to. So if you want to pause the video and see what Peter Svidler plays in this position, go ahead and do so. Okay, like I said, there's probably 4 or 5 different moves that are much better. I mean, there's just sliding the queen over to e3, you know, just backing up the knight back here, just that way you don't have like any captures and stuff like that. You know, moving the king, moving the queen another way. Like, there's a lot of different other moves. But, you know, like I said, you are in a position right now as Peter Svidler that you're just like, you know what, dude, I gotta do something. Like, you know, we've all been there in that situation where it's like, you know, you have a great position. You know, you're ahead. There has to be something there. And I think this is kind of what Svidler was thinking in this position. There has to be something here. So he's thinking of winning an exchange. So if you guess the move, bishop takes e6, you would be absolutely correct. That is the move that he played. The computer really hates it, but you are getting an exchange. So you have to try to make sure that you maintain your exchange. So after the pawn takes e6, knight takes e6, queen goes to e7 pretty much anywhere. Knight takes e8, or knight takes d8, and then queen takes d8. The major problem, as I said before, is you absolutely cannot push this pawn. If you do, you're going to just immediately be giving the exchange back, and you cannot do that because you are down an entire piece in this position. But like I said, if we move this pawn up here, even with the material being down a little bit, you are very much winning because, I mean, even if the knight wanted to try to pop into this square right here, you just take it real quick, and then you have 2 completely passed pawns, and, I mean, that's pretty decisive. But we don't have that. We got the move f5, pawn takes f5, and then queen takes f5, and then the knight plops down in the most perfect square on the entire board, d5, and we are blockading this pawn, and we are absolutely not going anywhere, homie. The rook slides over to f3, but you have to kind of ask yourself in this position, like, what are you doing as white? Like, what can you do? Like, b4 isn't really desirable. This knight is a complete octopus. Bam, 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 right? I mean, even though this bishop is not really fully developed at the moment, this rook is kind of, you know, not really doing anything. I mean, the rook can come over here. This pawn is just completely just stopping these pawns altogether. And I mean, there's just really not much that you can really do. This pawn isn't really going anywhere because this square is completely tied down. So as white, you're just kind of just like, man, like, what do I do right here, man? We got bishop down to h6, and then we do have the king up to h2. And you see the bar drop down. I'll mention that in a second. The rook slides over to f8, and we do see queen to g4. And we are in forkness. I just created that word, forkness. You have the move knight to e3, which is what Hikaru finds in the game. And it was actually here before in this position because the queen and the rook are forkable. Forkableness is the situation. So we did find it the second time around. I mean, you're pretty much, not only are you down a piece, but you're about to give the exchange back as well. So rook takes e3, bishop takes e3. We got the queen over to e4. Bishop goes to f4, we check, the king goes down to h1, and then we plot the bishop on the g3. And this bishop is literally never going anywhere, and you are down a piece. We got the move e6. Queen goes down to f6, and it is in this position that Peter Svidler resigns the game. Now, he's resigning because, I mean, you are facing immediate back rank mate. There isn't, like, really a whole lot that you can do to, like, defend against it. Pretty much the only move is queen down to f3, you know, to make sure that you're not back rank mated. But, I mean, you don't really want to go into any trades at all. But, I mean, of course, you don't want to get back rank mated. But, I mean, everything really kind of centered around the fact that this d5 pawn could not be pushed. So, after this position here that we saw Peter Svidler resign, if you did go ahead and try to go forward just a little bit, even though it's not the absolute best, you know, black can simply just trade down and just kind of win it. I mean, queen going to f3, we could possibly see queen takes f3, even though, like I said, this isn't the best continuation, but just to kind of illustrate, you know, what black has the option to do if they just feel like so inclined. Queen taking, pawn taking, king going down to c7, d5, c5. After rook comes up to d3 to defend, we would see the move a4. And I mean, you know, there's not really a whole lot. This king is, I mean, all day blocking. The rook can swing over. I mean, we're just really not doing anything here as white, and we're down a piece. So that is that. So I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Maraming salamat, and I'll see you guys next time.